Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Lost in Chronologically Lost. I'm David.
I'm Matthew.
And today we are going through episode 3, 1954 to 1972. So, first of all, Matthew, I just want to say, did you like this episode more or less than the previous ones?
I'd say about the same. I mean, it was different in that this one actually had me following the main cast of the show. A different experience, but I would say the same amount of interest for me. It kept me interested, like, what's going on, trying to piece things together.
That's cool. So, you had something you wanted to say at the start of this episode?
Yeah, so the funny thing about this is that it was only during the very last scene did I realize that this Richard Alpert was the same person as Ricardo from the last episode we watched. Which, look, they made him look very, maybe I'm just a little face blind, but they made him look very different. He was clean shaven, totally different hair, no accent. Like, it could have fooled me, honestly. It did fool me. It fooled me like, they say fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you. It fooled me like 20 times, then the 21st time I got it.
Well, at least you did end up getting it.
Yeah.
Or else this might have been an awkward podcast.
Yeah, I didn't even want to mention it today, but I realized there was something interesting about it because when I realized it, I was like, oh, I can't believe I missed that. But then I realized the flashback was supposed to come after this stuff, right?
Right.
Like, I forgot that I was watching an edit, and so I was thinking, oh, I was supposed to watch this knowing who he is, and then I realized, wait, no, this is edited to be in chronological order. I am supposed to watch this not knowing why Richard is on the island, why he works for Jacob. Like, so, if anything, me not remembering that is kind of closer to the real experience, with the only thing I was missing being that I'm supposed to know whatever he does in the present with Locke, and I didn't know that during this. I had to piece that together.
So we begin with Miles, Daniel, and Charlotte walking through the jungle in 1954, and Charlotte is having headaches and double vision, and Daniel is trying to, see if she's all right, which kind of like he was in the previous episode, but a little bit more.
He's picking up on it more now.
Right,
he's not
because
totally
clearly something's up, which, I mean, we've seen her die, so...
Yeah.
And I was wrong in the previous episode when I said that all of the unimportant background characters died in that arrow attack, because 2 of them die to some trip mines. And that's the last we see of them.
Yeah, I didn't even realize, after it happened, I was like, oh, they were probably more background characters, but, I wasn't even sure if we saw their faces before they died. Like, it was very, very, background characters.
They don't matter. They're dead now.
Like, seriously, did we see their faces before they died?
I don't know if we did.
Yeah. Which made it a little weird that, that it tried to tell us, oh shit, they died when, who? But, yeah, I mean, culling those who don't matter. Good decision. Yeah, the tripwire trap definitely made me, it put me in the mind space of that kind of, the warfare of that era, in the jungle. I mean, I think this is the 50s, but it felt like Vietnam War-y,
Right, exactly. They get captured and they're like, well, obviously your guy yelled out, meet at the creek. We know you're coming to the creek.
Yeah. Yeah, and they said, and the girl was like, it's your landmines. They think that, and that's what started making me think, wait, who do they think is their enemy that our gang is a part of? They think that our gang is a part of some group they're fighting against before. And as we learn, it's the U.S. government, but, that was the first hint, I think.
Go back to the flash to the Sawyer group, with Sawyer, Juliet, and Locke. And they do the classic time travel thing of, it's not where we are, it's when we are.
Yeah. I like Locke's character a lot from this point, and it's definitely how in control of the situation he could feel,
See, that's very interesting, because this is Season 5, and I will say, Season 5 Locke is the best Locke that we're gonna get, because he's amazing.
Oh, damn. Because, yeah, I mean, if it, like, took him some time to get there, that's fine. You can see the growth. But, like, at this point, I just enjoyed, like, he was not messing around. He was just, you know, he was a leader. He was in charge. It was, you know, entertaining to watch. He feels like
he really knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So then we get a thing of the two young men that Sawyer's group captured speaking Latin, and Juliet also speaks Latin. This
is where, I mean, I think they said there were others. This is where it started to get confusing to me, where eventually I kind of pieced it together, but it was like, you know, knowing the premise of the show, it's like they get stuck on an island, and I'm sure that there will be lore fleshing out past things that happened on the island and all that. And I generally expected that, even stuff with, like, I think one of the things you once mentioned to me before I watched the show was, like, U.S. Army bases. So I'm like, okay, there's gotta be stuff like that. But I didn't expect this weird cult-seeming thing, or just, like, organizations of that level, like, it's like Juliet is a part of it. I'm like, was she a part of it on the island or before she came to the island? It got very confusing to me trying to figure out, like, what and when all these groups were.
Okay, so maybe to clear it up just a little bit, it is kind of confusing due to just the names, where sort of Richard Alpert's group that, you know, Locke goes to go meet in the jungle, or in everything that they have all their tents, they are called the Others. That's just what they're called. And so, you know, you get a little thing of Juliet saying, you know, well, I know Latin because I had to learn it as an other, which isn't interesting. And they say, oh, you know, it's the language of the enlightened, which I really think it just ties back to, I think the origin of these people really was just that shipwreck however many years ago.
Yeah, no, I think that's basically seems like it's those people, and, like, I mean, Jacob is vaguely in charge, even though he's not directly in charge, but Jacob spoke Latin.
Right. So then we get a scene that I'm very interested to hear your opinion on. So it flashes back to the group with Miles, Daniel, and Charlotte, and they're being led at gunpoint to the camp, and suddenly they walk over some graves. And what was your interpretation of what happened?
I don't have an interpretation. I mean, it's like, I wouldn't say I have an interpretation, because I'm just thinking, how the hell did he know? Where, like, it feels like it's telling me he has psychic powers, basically. Like, he can see where dead people are. I see dead people, but, like, I don't know, maybe I just don't have the context to know how he would do that. Maybe with some context, there's a perfectly reasonable explanation, but psychic powers seem like they're a thing that there could be in this show.
Well, there is an explanation. It's one of the explanations that even I am like, really? That's what you're going with? But there is...
Oh. Is it he smelled them? Didn't he U.S. soldiers, and didn't he say one died from radiation poisoning?
So they walk over their graves, and...
Which was mentioning the radiation poisoning, that got me thinking, and that eventually went somewhere, but...
Well, it did, yeah.
Yeah.
It was foreshadowing the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was good.
Yeah.
Good foreshadowing,
so he walks over,
except... Yeah, so I don't know what to make of it.
He walks over the graves, he's like, there's 4 U.S. soldiers buried here, 3 of them died to gunshots, 1 of them died to radiation poisoning, which is just like, fuck. And they get taken to Richard... Or they mentioned Richard because, you know, they say, oh, you know, Ricardus Albert. And they're like, how long has Richard been here? And Juliet's just like, Richard's always been here.
Yeah.
Which now we know why.
Yeah, this is this is something like knowing as I'm supposed to, like, Richard is just a guy who lives, like, he's Jacob's servant. He was a slave. He ended up on the island. It's supposed to make sense here, but I was just wondering, who is this guy? Who is his group? Why is he... Like, what is his goal? And then realizing what I was supposed to realize, having watched it in chronological order. Okay, I get. This is just an extension of him doing what Jacob wants, trying to protect the island. You know, that all makes sense.
Well, anyways, they get taken to the Others camp, where they have basically requisitioned all the supplies of the U.S. soldiers who had come there. And they say, oh, you know, we assume you've come back for your bomb. And they're just like, Yup, we did.
Yeah, see, this is where I started to really like Daniel, because this was a really good bluff. And it's not just the fact that he acted believable, that he slipped into his role incredibly to the point that I'm wondering, does the character have acting training or something? Because he did a very convincing job, and what impressed me even more was he very quickly and intelligently assessed the role he was meant to play, saying, like, I'm just a scientist, I need to go disarm the bomb. Like, he came off like he didn't pretend he was just, like, if he just tried to pretend he was a soldier there for peaceful reasons, that wouldn't have been the right role to play, but he figured out exactly who he had to pretend to be in that situation, and that really impressed me.
And I should say, it is true that Daniel is a scientist. He's just not a U.S. military scientist.
Okay. So, it got me, by the way. I figured out he was a real scientist later in the episode when I think, like, Sawyer and Locke referred to him as Faraday, and I was like, okay, yeah, TV show writers, they're gonna give a character the last name Faraday if they want to make it clear to the audience that they're a scientist.
There's gonna be a lot of important names. I'd say you've already heard two of them. One of them, the guy's name is Sawyer, if you can imagine, sort of the most famous Sawyer in...
Yeah.
And another one who is literally named John Locke, a famous philosopher.
Oh, yeah,
so they're not subtle with these names at all.
Yeah, Michael Faraday, one of the most important scientists for electromagnetism ever.
Yes, and electromagnetism will be coming up in the show a lot, so...
Oh, yeah, I remember that scene from episode 1 with the knife hitting the well because of the magnet power.
So, but while they're in their tent, just kind of waiting for a minute, they're like, what do we do? And he's like, well, we could just wait for another flash. And they're like, how long would that be? He's like, oh, I don't know. Could be a million years.
Yeah, by the way, is it gonna explain, like, how or why these flashes are happening? Because this seems very arbitrary.
Well, you've already gotten, like, half of the explanation.
Have I?
Yes, in episode 1, when the old man in the cave says that wheel has slipped off its axis, and you just need to give it a push. That's one half. The other half is, why has it slipped off its axis? That'll be a long time coming, but it'll come.
So the wheel being off its axis messes with
apparently.
Time? But then even then, when the flashes happen, when they send them to, that seems very
arbitrary. It's completely arbitrary when it sends them to.
Yeah.
It sent them to wherever it was convenient for the plot to send them to.
Yeah.
So, anyways, then we hear the story of the U.S. soldiers attacked the others attacked back, killed them, and they have a hydrogen bomb.
And I guess I want to mention, like, what I generally gleaned at this point that I didn't... Well, what I get now at this point that I didn't when I was watching it, because I didn't put together that Richard was Ricardo, was like, okay, this is, like, not some random group or cult that lives on the island for mysterious reasons. This is just Richard doing Jacob's bidding, having a group that tries to protect the island and does generally good things, and the only issue here is just that they don't know that they can trust our main characters. But, like, Richard's role here is actually very understandable to me when it wasn't quite before.
Exactly, right. And we get a thing saying of like, oh, well, how can we trust you that you won't just detonate this bomb? And Daniel says, because, I'm in love with Charlotte.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah, I'm just cute. It's nice,
I like
cute,
that. And
very cute.
Flash to... Actually, stop saying flash, because it makes it sound like it's a time thing. We're just... A new scene comes up with, Sawyer's group, where one of the others breaks the other's neck for revealing information and then runs off. And Locke has the opportunity to shoot him and doesn't take it. And they go, why? Locke says, because he's one of my people. So...
Which, very, very confusing to me at first. I understand it now.
Right, yes. Anyway, so we get confirmation now that the island right now is in the South Pacific because the U.S. Army liked to go around the South Pacific in the 50s and everything, setting up stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Just bombs. And
we get another cute scene between
Oh,
Charlotte and Daniel where she's like, "Oh, you don't have to lie like that."
Very nice. Very nice, and she is about to die.
Yeah, this is what I said when I'm like, you'll get a better send-off here. We get the cute scenes with them that are the best scenes with her, and then we get her, like, real death scene, which is her actually talking to Daniel as she dies. And, yeah I mean, she will show up later, but we've already seen the best of her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, Richard makes a statement saying, like, don't you have a chain of command? Well, we have a chain of command, too, which... it was like foreshadowing then, but now it's like a callback to him answering to Jacob.
And so where was the line? I might be going a little out of order here, but where was the line where the guy who broke the neck of his friend came back and Richard's like, he could have chased us back here to the camp, and he says like, you think he knows the island better than I do?
Yeah.
And that dramatic irony.
Oh,
right
absolutely!
There.
I love that line
because he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Right. Just also we learn that the blonde woman's the other blonde woman's name is Ellie, which then we get a thing of Sawyer, Locke, and Juliet. They see the camp from far away, and Locke's like, "Well, I'm going to go down there and finish my conversation with Richard," and they're like, "What? No."
Which is a conversation out of time, but apparently it ends up working.
And they're like, no, they just tried to kill us and everything. And he goes, well, I'll give you a 10-minute head start. Like, he is doing his own thing, and he does not care. So Ellie marches Daniel to the bomb at gunpoint, and he makes a thing saying, like, "Oh, your name's Ellie. You look like someone I know."
Yeah.
If that's a thing, and she assumed he's talking about like a girlfriend or something.
Wait. Or does he see her in the future? Or I didn't realize that back then, but now is that just a future joke? I don't know.
See. So Ellie clearly knows what's up because she's like, obviously a British woman and a Chinese man aren't in the U.S. military in 1954.
So they get to the bomb, and he finds a radiation leak, and I'm just like, okay, you're already dead. I don't think this show is actually gonna go with that, but it seemed like a you're already dead situation to me.
Right, yeah, he sees that and he books it the hell out of there. He's like, just bury it, just get some lead or some concrete and bury it. And she doesn't believe him. She keeps being
and see,
how
like
do you
that,
know this will work?
And I liked before, right, like a little before he explained it, I did figure out, oh, he knows that the island is still there in the future, so it'll be fine. Then I was wondering, is it just that the island is there in the future, or did they dig up the bomb at some point? Because I would find it really funny if at some point, like earlier in the show, they were digging somewhere and then it's like, oh shit, there's a bomb underground, and then now that explains it. But all he did say was that the island is still there, so I don't know if the bomb will come up again.
Right. Well, that's very interesting. I guess we'll have to see. But she keeps pestering, like, how do you know? And he just yells. He's like, because in 50 years, this island is still here. He's like, and it's fine. He's like, well, it's not perfectly fine, but there's been no atomic blast. So
yeah.
Then Sawyer comes and interrupts them, and she just goes, "Oh, are they from the future too?" And he's like, oh, "You told her?" Like,
yeah, you told her.
Which
I mean, it's not like it needed. It's not like it needed to be a secret that they're from the future. It was just gonna be hard to explain.
I mean, she seems to believe him after he says that.
Yeah, I mean, people on the island know that weird stuff happens.
Exactly. So then we go back to John Locke and Richard's conversation, where it's like, oh, well, how can I just talk to Richard? He's like, oh, well, Jacob sent me, so you have to talk to me.
Yeah, which, like, he knows the name Jacob, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's just the key word. They just let him right in, and...
yeah. Richard's like, hey, put your gun down. Stop messing with this guy. Clearly he is important.
Mm-hmm. And they say, it's like, oh, what's your name? And, they do. He says his name is Charles Widmore, and this is a dramatic zoom with some music cues. So I'm sure you can tell he'll be important.
I'm not gonna lie. I took that as Locke being like, Wow, you have a really stupid sounding name. I thought he was making fun of him. I didn't realize that was supposed to mean he was important.
Look, Lost will never make fun of its own character's name until the final episode. I'll say that.
Okay.
Locke is trying to convince him that he's the leader, and he needs to find out how to get back.
Explains the story. Which, I do think it's interesting, like, whatever happens in the seasons before this, like, they spend enough time on the island that Locke can, like, ascend to becoming the leader of the group while on the island, which, good for him, moving up in the world.
Yeah, Locke gives, Richard a compass, and he says, come visit me when I'm born. I'll be born in 2 years. So do that, because and this is after Richard says, leadership has started at a very young age.
Yeah. And it's... See, the way that Richard has this whole organization with this whole system, we have systems for who can become the leader, and also just the fact that he can leave the island casually, like, all of that makes way more sense once I realized, wait, that's just Ricardo.
Yeah. So then we get another flash, and then we move just to a flashback of this 50s girl dancing, getting ready to go out, and she's putting on makeup even though she's clearly in a complete full face of makeup already.
And she's dating somebody who's twice her age, and I'm just like, listen to your mom, girl. Holy shit. And this is in the 50s.
I will say, if this girl listened to her mom, this series would have a lot less problems.
Less problems? But Locke is cool.
Well, people will understand what I'm saying.
Okay, I hope they do.
So she goes out.
Seriously. And then she gets hit by a car, and she tells the nurses she is pregnant?
Yeah.
Ugh. I am so with, like when her mom is there in the hospital later, she is so not happy, and she is right.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so at this point I'm thinking, oh, this is John Locke, and then she's like, name him John! It's like, okay, you're not in the best mental state right now, but they're not taking your baby away from you forever. They just take you, like this isn't your last chance to name him.
Right.
This Emily, a little dumb.
Right, but clearly from the beginning, John Locke has had a hard life because he was born prematurely due to a car crash to an underage mother, had to deal with infections and pneumonia, and then his mom runs away and chooses not to raise him.
Yeah. And also, the nurse tells Emily's mom, oh, you can't smoke in here. I thought this was the 50s. I would have expected them to tell Emily to smoke to calm down.
I think at least by the 50s you couldn't smoke in the maternity ward with the children. They were at least at that level. And you get
4 out of 5 doctors say cigarettes are healthy.
Yeah, and you get Richard looking at little baby Locke very creepily, I might add.
Yeah. This is what really hit me with, wow, Richard can just casually leave the island, which, that, I think that really feels like it changes the experience, because I expect I would be supposed to spend most of the show wondering, is it even possible to leave this island? Are they going to find a way? And then now it's just oh yeah, we see someone do it. We know there's an easy way. He can casually go back and forth. And that definitely, I feel like, is going to change how I watch the later parts of Chronologically Lost, just knowing, well, yeah, of course there's a way out. They just don't know about it.
Right, exactly. So then we get a scene a few years later of Richard meeting John when he's pretty young.
And Richard runs the school for the X-Men. Dude.
I don't think it's a real school. That sounds like a shell corporation that was set up just for this purpose.
No. He's looking for the X-Men, and Locke, sadly, not a mutant. He was hoping he was a mutant, but his mutant powers didn't manifest yet. Although, I think mutant powers for the X-Men, they only manifest once they hit puberty, so Richard really should have waited a few more years before testing Locke.
Well...
Okay, yeah, I know. Okay, he gives Locke the item, says pick which one is yours. And at first I was wondering, like, oh, is Locke gonna pick the right one? How is the show gonna explain that? Like, does Locke also Loki have mystical powers and have a way to know?
Well, one thing is we see that Locke he's just drawn a drawing of the smoke monster, which...
Okay, look, I don't want to insult the artistic abilities of a child, but that could have been anything. That was a scribble. And look, he picks wrong. He doesn't pick the compass. And I'm just like, why did Richard expect that to work? And does Richard decide, okay, I guess the whole Locke thing was bullshit then, when, like, the Locke that he told you would be born was still born. I don't see why you're giving up just because of this.
Well,
like,
why did you expect him? He doesn't give up, as we'll see later, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, he does want to recruit high schooler Locke, but still, it's just like, I think that was a silly way to test, I'm just saying. I don't know what Richard expected.
I think he expected him to pick the compass, and then he'd say, we're taking him to a good school, and then he would take him to the island. Like, I think that's what he expected to happen.
I feel like he could have just taken him anyway.
Well, he needed to be sure, and he wasn't
I think
sure.
Well, I don't think that would have proved anything. That would have been pure luck. Like, yeah, little baby child is gonna think, ooh, knife, cool, I want to stab people. They're not gonna think, ooh, a compass, I can navigate the world. No child wants to navigate the world, they want to stab people.
Right. But, so then we get to another scene some time later of another birth scene. There's going to be a lot of birth scenes early in the show, just due to flashbacks.
I know. Now we're in the flashback section I expected. And for some reason, I thought this was on the island because it had a similar look to me to the scene of Daniel and Charlotte when Charlotte was dying.
Well, it was all filmed in Hawaii, so there's only so many locales.
Yeah. Alright, so okay, then he was, they were just on a hike, and they go to the highway, and they're like, please help us, and I'm just like, why did you take your pregnant wife on a hike?
Well, they said she wasn't due for another month, so...
Okay, pregnant women can accomplish great things. They're strong, but I feel like that's just a weirdly unnecessary risk, especially when there's only a month left. Like, earlier in the pregnancy, sure, have fun, keep your exercise, but I don't know, I mean, this is the 50s.
I don't know, neither of us have ever been pregnant, so I don't know if we're capable of making that kind of judgment.
Yeah, I know. I mean, for all I know, she was just insistent that she could do it, and she was like, I can definitely make it, don't underestimate me, that's her right.
Right, so she says, they name him Benjamin, and then she dies. She doesn't even get into the car to get to the hospital. She dies right there, because people in Lost, they die really quickly, unless I'll say this, they either die, like, near instantly, or they get a super prolonged, dragged-out death.
Oh, God, I've told you this before. I do not like 95% of those dragged-out deaths in fiction. I want the quick deaths.
Yeah, there are some that really push the boundaries of it, though, I will say.
Yeah. I feel sadder when it's just like, oh, they're dead, nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm. So then we get a time flash, and I remember...
This is clearly still in the 50s, but something has happened in between last time and now.
I don't know exactly what sets this scene exactly in the 70s, or like these early 70s. I know why it can't be later, and I'll keep that to myself. But it feels like this scene with the well could have been you could have put it theoretically right in episode 1. Or sort of after episode 1. I
don't know.
But you know what? It's fine here. I'm fine having it here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's the presence of the well and, like, how it looks. I don't know. But I picked up, like, okay, something happened in between, and I wonder when what happened in between is, because it's all like Charlotte knew where the well is, and they're clearly moving with a goal here. That means that this is not where they flashed to right after...
the 50s. Right.
The stuff with, the 50s. So I wonder when it will be what happened. Because then they're like, Charlotte grew up on the island, there's a Dharma initiative, that sounds cult-like. and that did get explained in this chapter, but this episode. And then
right, but one thing I want to say is in recording for episode 1, you said, I want to know what happens before this. When you were referring to the crazy time flash scene there, and it's like, well, here this is what you get to see before. It's just that it happened after.
I got it. And I obviously I gathered that it was time travel. I just wanted to get to that soon enough in the show. But yeah, when I saw the well and the rope, I was like, okay, this is it. I didn't need to see the time flash happen. I picked it up like, oh, okay, so Locke tries to climb down the rope and the flash happens in the middle, so he falls down, and that's why Sawyer was pulling the rope when we first cut to them in the first episode, because it got cut off and the well wasn't there anymore. And
right. We also get this
also
sad scene kind of with Charlotte. I mean, she doesn't die here, but she's dying here. And
wait, one thing I just wanted to mention also. I did notice that the flash seemed like it was coming up from inside the well.
Exactly.
Which now that you mention, so I did notice that, and now that you mention it was because the wheel was off its axis. I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But anyway, yeah, Charlotte mentions she was on this island with the Dharma Initiative, and a scary man told her that if she came back to the island, she would die, and that was Daniel. And just from that, I already pieced together Daniel, after she dies in his subjective timeline, they're going to time travel to the 70s era, to the Dharma Initiative, and he's going to see her, and he loves her, so he's going to want to save her life by telling her to not come back to the island. But tragically, the timeline seems to be set in this world, so he's not going to really be able to save her, but he's going to try anyway. And even though I've just predicted all that, and I'm 90% sure that's how it's going to play out, I really like that. I really feel like it's going to make me sad when if we see him try to tell her to never come back so she doesn't die just to protect her. I really like that kind of thing.
Oh, same, absolutely. And this scene, honestly, it makes me pretty sad. I've seen some people say, "Oh, she's such a terrible actress." This scene, I laughed at. I felt sad at this scene.
I wasn't bothered by her acting.
So yeah, but she mentions, she grew up in the Dharma Initiative, and her mom then said, no, it never happened. But clearly, we see later in this episode, the Dharma Initiative happened.
Yeah.
So.
And so.
Then we get a scene where John Locke is saying, he's going to go down the well, and he's going to fix it.
Yeah, and he says he has to, I think he's going to leave the island and he has to bring people back. And that was some of the talk we got with him and that other guy back in the first episode, where it's oh, you have to bring them all back. I still just don't understand what that means. Is Locke responsible for getting everyone to the island in the first place? Is it some time loop stuff like that? I don't know, really. I don't know what to make of it.
Right, well, then we have one of the men, the Korean man, Jin is his name. He says, you don't bring Sun back. You don't bring her back.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's his daughter.
Well, he says, you don't bring my baby back. So.
Oh yeah.
And he says, if.
Yeah, and he says even to say that he's dead, damn, he really means it.
Right. Oh, and then Juliet says a nice thing where she's like, if what you're attempting to do works, thanks. He's. Which is nice, especially knowing that he's going to get a out of leg bone injury right after this. Yeah. He deserves some thanks for doing that.
Yeah. Show some appreciation. So then we just get the cult arc. It's
a research group. It's not a cult.
Okay, it is called the Dharma Initiative. Everybody here is white because of course they are.
No. There was a black woman, I think. There was one.
Okay, yeah, but she was a receptionist, or everyone in charge is white. The guy Horace Goodspeed, very cult leadery, and he used when he's talked about them getting adjusted, he said you processing, you're gonna be processed, and that felt very cult to me. All of that just.
I mean, I guess there is a thing where, they're kind of living in isolation just due to living on the island, and
it is called the Dharma Initiative. That seems like some, and they say Namaste. This seems like some fake white people Buddhism things. Like, look, this is just hitting all of my, like, even if it's not a cult, it's very
I think the thing that
cult-like.
makes it
They're
not a cult is the fact that
students
the
here.
island actually is magical. Like, they're studying something that is real.
No. I think that just makes it one of the few not fake cults. I think that's still a cult.
Okay, I guess we just have different definitions of cult. To me, they're a research group because they're actually
Yeah.
doing legitimate research.
They have cult-like practices.
Fair enough. That's very true. I'm not going to deny
And
that.
I mean, also, like, he gets, Benjamin's dad gets screwed with, like, oh, you're gonna be a janitor here. Cults, they're all fun and games until the group needs some hard
Okay,
labor.
this guy clearly had no life skills, though, so I think a janitor is what he deserves.
Anyway, I wanted to mention, they see this Asian guy on the TV explaining stuff. That is the second actor that I recognize from The Expanse. He was a big villain in The Expanse, and, like, he was excellent and very good at playing someone evil, so I'm definitely expecting him. I don't know how important of a character he'll be, but I'm definitely, even if that was his only appearance, he's going to be very... I'm just totally expecting him to be evil.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm not going to comment on that. We learned sort of that the Dharma Initiative's living quarters and sort of areas, they're protected by a sonar fence, which they say is to protect against the wildlife. And they're saying, what kind of wildlife do you have? But do you have any guess as to what they're really trying to protect themselves from?
Richard.
Well, that too, but could you think of any sort of natural, unhuman creature that they'd want to protect themselves from?
The volcano erupting.
Right, okay.
No, I got it. No. They're worried that the hydrogen bomb is going to blow up. Do they know about
how's the
Jacob
sonar
that he's here?
fence? How's the sonar fence gonna stop a hydrogen bomb?
I don't know. How's a sonar fence going to stop the mist monster? It's sonar. Sonar is for detection. Doesn't block
I will say
anything.
somehow that sonar does stop the mist monster. I don't know how. Also, so
Anyway, I just want to mention. So we see Benjamin in the classroom, and they're teaching about the volcano, and then an alarm goes off. And I would have found it so funny and ridiculous if that alarm was the volcano actually erupting.
right, here's
but
the
it
thing.
wasn't.
Let me just say about this volcano is they set this up, and people thought for sure they were going to use this volcano, and they never did.
Volcano. Wow,
But the reason is they wanted to, but when they got to the scenes they wanted to use it for, they didn't have enough budget to use it.
Oh,
So yeah,
what a shame.
yeah, they planned for it, but the money didn't hold up.
I would have taken a bad CGI volcano just to get some volcano. Yeah,
So,
so they're
you
getting
know-
attacked by hostiles. They're saying the island's natives, and I'm sure they're not really natives because this island doesn't exactly have natives, but cult or research group, either one, this is so much colonialism here, with the white guys in charge and, like, taking control. This
Well,
island,
we've
like,
seen one of the Asian men
exploiting-
is in charge, making the video.
Well, he's... Okay, I don't know, he gave me scientists working for the guys in charge vibes, but maybe. He was the guy in charge in what his villain role in The Expanse.
Right. Okay. Well, it's there.
I mean,
the actual.
I like as an Asian man, I like seeing Asian villains, just as, representation. It's gotta not just be the good guys, it's gotta be the good guys and the bad guys.
Yeah, I will say that technically, the leadership of the Dharma Initiative isn't even on the island. They're too.
Oh yeah, of course not.
whatever.
It's the U.S. president, obviously.
Oh, of course. Right.
Who was the president? Let me see. U.S. president. I gotta Google this.
This would have been
Who was the-
72, I think.
72. Let me see. I gotta scroll down the whole list. 72. Nixon, of course.
It was all Nixon. So we also see Ben sort of forming a friendship with this girl Annie. She gives him an Apollo bar, which is Just
Never
cute.
heard of that.
It's a
weird...
fictional candy bar that it shows up on the show whenever they use candy.
I just thought it was some old 70s candy.
It looks like it.
Is it meant to evoke the idea of the space mission? Is that some very subtle symbolism?
I think it's just a candy bar.
Or perhaps Apollo being the sun in, I think, Roman mythology. Even though
I really think it's just a candy bar, man. But, there's the attack by what they call the hostiles, which it's the others. Like, it's just the others. That's just what they call them in sort of their us versus them mentality.
Yeah. And I liked how it's like we see the teacher pick up a gun, it just feels cool. Like, everybody here, half their job is to pick up a gun and defend them from the natives.
Right. Then
it's okay, this is a silly comparison, but it reminds me of those things you would see about on social media we're still basically during pandemic times, but really during the height of it, you would see these people posting like, oh, they're like island retreat, where like it's a bunch of like rich 20-somethings going on this retreat where they can all party safely in some island where, all the poor people that they're paying to bring them food and stuff obviously aren't having a good time. Just has that energy to me.
So then we cut to John Locke, who is in a locker.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm proud of myself for that pun. I probably shouldn't.
Thank you.
Then
no, good one.
We have one of his teachers saying, "Oh, there's this Metalos Laboratories. I think Metalos means something. I didn't bother to look into it because it's just a thing they say."
And see, John, he's struggling with toxic masculinity, and at first I was like, okay, it's good that the teacher is telling him that it's okay to like not be the tough guy, but then the teacher he starts just projecting onto John here. He's just like, oh, you're not gonna be the cool guy, you gotta be the nerd, that's okay. And it's like, okay, John might be struggling with toxic masculinity, but let him choose what he wants.
Well, yeah, like he says, it's a famous line. He says, "Don't tell me what I can't do," which, it's gonna come up.
Look at Locke as we know him. He is a badass.
Oh, absolutely! Like, he's knifing people in the back. He's trekking through the jungle. He's just being like, "Yeah, I'm the leader. What of it?"
He is in control of the situations. He walked right into Richard's camp and was like, "Let me talk to Richard."
Right, exactly. So then we flash back to Ben on the island where, Annie has made some dolls for his birthday.
Annie gives him some. I'm not gonna lie; those are some terrible dolls. Oh my god.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Children are terrible artists.
Yeah, we saw that before with Locke too. Like, look, it was a nice gesture, but it kind of creeps me out more than anything. Like, what is she gonna torture your doll as a voodoo doll when you don't do what she wants? I would not get involved with this girl, Benjamin.
Right. So then we have Ben's dad just being garbage, as he
drunk
does.
Drunk on his birthday, blaming Ben for having killed his mom when his dad is the one who took his mom on a hiking trip when she was pregnant. You do not blame a child for killing their parent.
Well, you do if you're a trash human being. That's what you do.
Oh my god.
Yeah, everybody hates this guy. He's garbage.
Jeez.
And Ben sees like a vision of his mom. And then his mom said, it's not time yet.
His mom didn't die on the island.
Right.
And the thing about that is that we saw that happen once before with Richard's wife. So like maybe there's a connection there because I don't know how the rule works. Like, I don't know if at this point in the show you're supposed to know the rule.
No, you don't.
That you only see. Okay, because, the thing is, when he spoke to Richard, I thought maybe Richard is seeing some meaning, some connection here, because, Richard saw someone who died not on the island, and he's like, wow, this kid did too, but I don't know if that's I don't know if the rules work that way, so I don't know if that's something that has meaning to Richard or not.
Well, it just means that someone has experienced something magical on the island. And I will say, I don't understand how he sees his mom. Maybe there's an explanation, but I don't know what it is. I don't understand. So then later, Ben tries running away. He's gotten the code for the sonic fence, and he even tests it with a little rabbit.
Yeah. Which, I want to know what would happen if you didn't turn it off. Also, I was starting to think, are they going to, know that he used his code and know that he left, and then, wait, this is 70s technology. I don't think they have that kind of computer system yet. They're not logging what codes are used.
Right. So then, he's wandering through the jungle. He hears whispers everywhere, and then he meets with Richard. And honestly, I just feel so sad for Ben at this point. I
was thinking Richard is not looking as good. His hair isn't as clean. It looks like his whole operation has gone downhill. He's definitely no longer in control of the island. They're definitely this underground resistance against the Dharma Initiative.
But also, see, I forget when this flashback set was, but what I think is this flashback set was made before the writers had decided on Richard being immortal, so they were trying to make this 40-year-old man look like he did however long ago, and then later they just made him immortal. I don't know if that's the case, and maybe he was just trying out a new look for the 70s, Yeah,
it's the 70s disco.
Yeah, I'm sure those the others know about disco.
Well, he can visit the regular world. Maybe the rest of them don't, but Richard should be the one going out, learning about disco, bringing it back to the others on the island. Right.
So, Ben, he says, he wants to join the others because he hates living with his trash dad, which I'm even though I knew what happened, I wanted Richard to just be okay, you can join us.
Yeah. And he says Ben has to be very, very patient. And, I don't know who Ben is. I don't know if I've seen him, but, this is a backstory, I'm pretty sure, so, Ben is going to be important in the future, but I don't know how. So when he says Ben is supposed to be very, very patient, are you supposed to see that knowing what he ends up having Ben do? Because I don't know.
Well, one of the things is, way back in episode 1, that old man in the cave tells Locke, he's you were told to push this wheel, not Ben, so we know Ben pushed the wheel at some point.
Maybe that's what put it off its axis and what caused all this trouble?
Maybe. But anyways,
I don't know.
That is where we end with a very tacit, vague confirmation from Richard that Ben can join the others later. But he has to go back to Dharma for now. So, what did you think of this episode?
It was a good episode. I'm still enjoying the show. Even though on all this time travel stuff I'm so completely lacking context, I got enough of it continuously that I could follow, get some I don't follow what happened in between leaving the 50s then them showing up in the 70s and trying to use the well, but I generally got enough of them that I could follow the plot more, follow the stakes. I could enjoy them being stuck in the past, Richard not knowing who they are, and them Daniel having to bluff and then do something about the bomb. That was an enjoyable plot with enough going on continuously that even out of its context I could enjoy it. I think every section of this episode I found interesting. I'm invested in what happens to Benjamin. It seems to me the next few... I saw the next few episode titles. They're still about the 70s, I think. But it seems to me we're gonna get more of Benjamin's backstory that's clearly not done. I hope it'll be interesting. I wonder if we'll see what ended the Dharma Initiative, and I don't know how much the time travel plot will intersect with this, but it might intersect a good amount if, we know Daniel has to show up and tell Charlotte to not come back to the island. I'm looking forward to that.
Right, yes. So for the next while, we're going to be in the 70s. So, obviously there's going to be some more Dharma stuff, as you could imagine. There's going to be some more backstory stuff.
I wonder if some other backstories for other characters are just also happening during the 70s. Just, in other parts of the world, just because, that's when people were alive.
Oh, well, of course. Well,
I wonder.
From the start of the show, the 70s would have been 30 to 20 years ago, which, for a lot of characters, that's going to be prime backstory time. The real prime backstory time, though, is the 90s, I will say. The 90s have a lot of backstory.
Yeah, Yeah, that's the few years before they all get there.
Right. So you want to see more of Ben. You're trying to piece together this time travel thing. Is there anything that you really want to happen next episode that you just want?
I mean, I want to see what Charlotte is up to on the Dharma Initiative, because we haven't seen her child self yet. I want to see what that is. I obviously, like I said, I want to see Daniel talk to her. And, anything I really want to see. I wonder if we're going to get more Locke backstory, because I liked kind of what we got with, his high school self, with the struggle with toxic masculinity and whether he wanted to be a scientist or a tough guy. And I feel like I want to see more of that plot line and more of what his life was at that point. I don't want to just have that little bit and then cut to when he's older.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll tell you, that's the only high school Locke that you're gonna see.
Aww.
I remember
That's
the first
a shame.
time I saw this, I was like, who is that? And then they said, like, John. I'm like, oh my god, this is Locke? Huh, they really hired an actor for this one scene.
Yeah, they sure did.
It's weird what actors they hire for flashbacks and which ones they just put the old actor in a wig for. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So this has been episode 3 of Chronologically Lost, and we hope you join us for episode 4 next time. Bye.